Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. At the time of recording, we just got the news that clubs can reopen again. Yay! So hopefully you can find me on a stage. If you're in Vancouver, come say hello. If not, I'm also an OnlyFans. I'm a digital content creator there, a former sugar baby, and a person on the internet. So I do a lot of things, and this podcast being one of them. So, and also sex work, advocacy, and activism is something I'm really, really passionate about, and something that I started a couple of years ago because I thought it was really important to share the stories of sex workers in all different capacities to help destigmatize the work. And for this week's episode, I'm really excited because we're going way back. We're going back to the era of Peepshows, and this is an episode I have been dying to record because I think the history behind Peepshows is just so fascinating, but I haven't found anyone that I know of or in my circles that have worked in peep shows because, at least in the North American context, they're pretty much mostly, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they're mostly defunct now. They're a bit extinct. You know, I haven't seen one of them in a long time. So I am thrilled to have connected with this week's guest, who goes by the name of Sunshine McWane, and we connected recently in one of our sex worker groups, and she had posed a question, something along the lines of like, are there any more peep shows around or any more peep show venues around? And then we got to talking because she's like, oh, I used to work at the Lusty Lady, which is a really famous venue, which we'll get into that later. That was here in Seattle and also in San Francisco. But again, I am just really, really thrilled and excited to have Sunshine on. And I just want to check that she's still there. Sunshine, are you there? You're here. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad to have you on the show this week. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your day to come and speak with me on the topic of peep shows.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to bring you on, and I know we connected quite recently, so I've just done a little bit of research. I've done my own research on the topic, but I don't know a whole lot about you except for one, that you used to work at the Lusty Lady in those peep show venues, but also you also have an OnlyFans account too, so it sounds like you're still in sex work. But let me know how that introduction was. I mean, I'd rather just switch it over to you for you to give yourself your own introduction in your own words, and go ahead.
Okay. Where do I start? Where do I go? So, I worked at 6 peep shows.
Oh, wow.
Total.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
The last, as far as I know, all the ones I worked at have closed. The last one that closed, I was there the last day. It was here in LA. It was called Venus Fair.
Oh, wow.
It was a peep show. They just had peep show booths. They didn't really have like a stage. I mean, that's a different thing. But like, it closed 2019.
Yeah.
I think December. Yeah.
Oh,
wow. 2019. Right before Corona Apocalypse.
The Corona Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a new one I haven't heard on the podcast yet. But yeah, so it closed right before all of this pandemic stuff happened.
Yeah, like that new law that they were making for the strip clubs here, where it's like in California, you have to pay the girls an hourly wage.
Right.
And then I guess the strip club managers got upset, like, how dare you tell me I have to treat these girls like people, employees? I'm not paying them an hourly wage.
Right.
So, like, all these strip club managers were trying to, I don't know, work around it. Like I did for the strip club here, I auditioned, Paradise. And they told me the first $80 I make that day, they're going to keep it.
Oh, what?
And then they'll cut me a check at the end. I mean, just weird stuff. Yeah. So the last peep show here in LA, Venus Fair, for a long time they were trying to work around it and say, we're not actually a strip club. We're a peep show. But they still said, you have to pay that hourly wage. Wow. And they're like, okay, we're going to shut. There's no way we're going to.
Wow. End of an era. Yeah. Because, even 2019 is still pretty recent. Like, I'm here based in Vancouver, Canada, so I'm just above Seattle, and I haven't seen any peep show venues in a long time. Like, they used to be peppered all over our main entertainment area, which is called Granville Street, right downtown, and we used to have even like a pornography theater as well, but that closed down like some years ago as well. And I just feel like, whatever happened to the peep show? Like, I haven't heard about that in so long, and it's just something that has just, I guess, gone with the times. But we're definitely going to get into all of that later on today. So I'm really, really curious to see what your origins were, because again, I didn't know you worked at Six, so this is really cool. I'm curious to hear about how the different venues they operated. And as you said too, like, there's ones with main stages, there's ones with just private booths and stuff, and we'll get into the logistics of everything later on. But like, I really want to hear your origin story in terms of like how you got started into sex work.
Oh, I don't know. My very first place was the Lusty Lady in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I worked there 2006 to 2010. And I don't know exactly how. I mean, I know I auditioned there, and I know I was super nervous.
Yes.
But I don't know what compelled me to do it. I think I tried to audition at another strip club in Seattle called Sands, and they didn't take me. So the Lusty Lady, I don't know. I auditioned and she did hire me.
Yay.
God, she did, because that was like one of the greatest things that happened to me.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's so nice.
Yeah, like seriously, 10 years later, like, I'm going to go to New York on June 21st, and I'm for a month, and I'm going to see 2 Lusty Ladies that I knew in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
And when I went to Seattle a month ago, I saw like 2 or 3 other super old Lusty Ladies. The lady that wrote the book, The Lusty Lady,
Erica Langley?
I mean, I just feel cool. I don't know, even it's years and years later, but the Lusty Lady's still kind of, I don't know, saving my life, or I don't know, like, just a big part
of your life, me. For sure. Like, its legacy has obviously lived on in your world, for sure. So that's so cool. Like, I'm just curious, like, because you had auditioned at other strip clubs before. Was sex work something that was brand new to you, or did you have like a calling, or you're like, I'm just going to try it out and see how it goes, or were you already into sex work before you auditioned, or like, what's the story there?
No, that's a good question. I was doing nothing in the sex industry until I started working at the Lusty Lady in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
I was pretty old for a baby stripper. Actually, because I was 24. And normally they want you as young as you can be, you know, 18. But yeah, I did basically nothing in the sex industry before I started dancing at the Lusty Lady. And the Lusty Lady was like my introduction to everything.
Oh, wow.
Like, when I first started dancing at the Lusty Lady, I remember the first time I heard the word polyamory or polyamorous. Like, the other girls at the Lusty Lady said it. And I was like, I took a bunch of, like, Spanish classes, and I don't know, I thought poly is many, right?
Yeah.
But that's not Spanish. I guess it's Greek. I figured it out, but that was the first time I ever heard that word, was at the Lusty Lady.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, later on I learned about sugar babies. Yes. I don't know if I even learned that at the Lusty Lady. And the Lusty Lady was my intro to everything.
Wow.
Basically.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I think it's a great place to start, for sure. And what was I going to ask you? I was going to ask, like, your audition process. What was that like? Because you said you're a bit nervous, which I think is, like, you know, natural for us to feel, especially if you've never gone into sex work before. Can you take me down memory lane and try to recite what was going through your mind that day, or how you felt?
Well, I think it's, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
So, okay, the way that Deborah was the manager of the Seattle Lusty Lady, And the San Francisco one was unionized, and it was super different, and the Seattle one wasn't. But they had some basic common things in common. They paid an hourly wage to dance on stage, you know. But so yeah, Deborah said it's like a 3-step process, you know. So first you come in and you fill out an application, and then the second time you come in, she takes you into one of the booths, the big booth. It's a 2-way, and she lets you watch the show. She just puts some quarters in, and she explains stuff.
Right.
Like she said, okay, so you see this girl dancing for this window right here? Okay, she has her butt in the window, you know, or she's spread eagle, but you see she's not touching her vagina, right? You're not supposed to touch the labia. She's like saying this. And then she's like, okay, you see this other girl? She has something like that's keeping her midriff warm, but I mean, she has her boobs and her butt, everything. You have to be naked.
Right.
If you have any kind of a costume, it's for decoration, but you can't be covered up. It's a live stage nude show.
Right.
You need to be live and nude. Shoes preferred, and that's it. Like, and so she shows you the show. She explains some things. I specifically remember I thought it was great, or maybe I was just shocked. I don't know. I had a blank face on my face, and Deborah was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine." Then I felt, oh my God, something should be wrong, you know, because she said, "Are you okay?" I thought I was just staring at the show. I don't know. Maybe I was just mesmerized by the nudity. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
So then, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So then after she shows you the live stage show, and she explains some things on the show and how it, you know, don't do this or, you know, whatever. And then afterwards, she takes you into the office and she's like, okay, the third step, you come back again and you audition. Do you want to do that? And I was like, okay, what do I do? And she said, buy some heels, but don't wear them because you wear them on stage. You're not supposed to wear them out anywhere else. Keep the floor.
Right.
Yeah. Excuse me. You're supposed to keep the floor, the dance floor clean, you know?
Yeah.
So keep the receipt just in case you don't get hired. I said, okay. So I had no idea what to buy. I did not buy stripper shoes.
Oh
I just bought some like black heels.
Like regular heels, okay.
Sandal heels or whatever. But they look fine.
Yeah.
Like the customers are really looking at your shoes.
Yeah, they're not looking at your shoes. They're not paying attention to that.
So, yeah, unless it's a foot fetish guy, I guess. But,
that's true.
So I went back and I auditioned. I think she gave me like a week later, and I was just nervous the whole time. Like, and I went on stage like, okay, I put a bunch of makeup on, and I said, I'm just gonna smile and do this. And I went on stage, and I guess I was so nervous I was dancing really fast.
Yes.
So I was getting really overheated, and I was kind of sweaty. And then she eventually pulled me off stage. Like, I think you did really good. You smiled at the customers, so that's good. That was one of the things she always talked about. Like, I guess you always want to make, and I think about this still, even if I'm dancing at a strip club. You think you always want to make the sexy faces, but honestly, when you're smiling, I think the guys think you're more, I don't know, welcoming. They're more happy about smiling face than the sexy face.
Totally. And like you can really connect with the audience that way too, right?
Yeah. So she said, there's some things I hope you'll grow out of.
Oh, did she? What did she mean?
Yeah, I'm going to hire you.
Oh, good.
And then she said, have you thought about a name? And I thought of all these different names. I was taking a bunch of Spanish classes, so I was like, oh, I want a nice, pretty Spanish name, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. I think you should just drop your name to Shine. And I was like, Shine? But that's my real name. Isn't that? And she's like, no, the customers are never going to know. And she said, I think you kind of shine on stage. And I was like, okay. So the whole time I was at the Lusty Lady in Seattle, my stage name was Shine. Okay. And I never had it again. But
wow.
I don't know. It was great.
Wow.
Some dancers would say, I think it's awesome because you don't try to have a persona on stage. You're just yourself on stage. So you really are like Shine.
Totally.
Like, okay.
That's so different too, because like as you know, and also for safety reasons and like anonymity and stuff too. Like I never hear of anyone really using their real name, or at least a part of their real name, in their stage names. But I feel like nowadays more and more sex workers are getting, at least not sex workers. I mean, more so for dancers, I would say, at least in the North American and especially Canadian, Vancouver specific, like where I am. A lot of us are using or displaying our real names now, which is really interesting. I'm not sure if that's just specific to where we currently are geographically, but that's just like an observation that I've noticed in the past couple of years. But
one thing I can say, I danced in Guam for 8 months.
Oh, cool.
And for whatever reason, in Guam, the manager said, just use your real name, Sunshine. And I noticed that a lot of dancers in Guam would use their real name. And it's not always like, oh, I got lucky, I was born with this stage name. But I mean, like a girl named Mandy, it's like, I'm going to dance by Mandy. You know? Yeah. And that was very, very common in Guam.
Right.
I thought the reason was because in Guam, it's expected you're supposed to be an entertainer all the time. Yeah. Like, even when you're not at work, if you see guys, they're like, who are you? Where are you? Where do you work? And you're always supposed to say, I work at G-Spot. You should come see me sometime. So I thought that was the reason why they were using their real names.
Maybe. Name. That's really interesting, too. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's, again, another observation that we've had. So, again, it's not unique to Vancouver, so...
Well, I mean, I believe Vancouver. I haven't heard of it anywhere else. I'm surprised you tell me about Vancouver. So maybe Vancouver and Guam only, or maybe some other place.
I have no idea. But going back to your audition process and stuff too, like, was that your first time ever like stepping foot in a peep show environment, or even like a strip club?
Well. Like I said, right before I went to the Lusty Lady, I tried to audition at Sands. And that was a strip club. Yeah. They just weren't very welcoming. Like, the first time, I was like, okay, well, can I just see the show? I just would like to see if I want to work here. And they're like, no, you're going to come in here and watch the show. You need to be with a male companion. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. So then I just had to audition. Wow. And, I don't know. They just didn't pick me. I remember, originally I'm from North Carolina, and I'm from kind of a really small, like, country bumpkin town. So I remember once when I was, like, 15 going to a strip club. I mean, they shouldn't have let me in, but I was a girl. Right. And I never looked my age. Like, when I was, like, 14, I had, like, 24-year-old guys hitting on me. So I guess they thought I was an adult, and they're like, well, who's going to kick out a girl? And they let me in. True. And then I think one more time when I was like 17, I went to, there's only 2 strip clubs in my hometown. It's not a big place. But, so yeah, I didn't go very often. Yeah. Like, I think once when I was 15, once when I was 17, once when I was 19. I auditioned at Sands. Then I went to the Lusty Lady in Seattle, and I got hired.
There you go. And that brings us right back here to peep shows. So, like, I'm interested in hearing, in your own words, what the difference is between a peep show and, say, like, a traditional strip club would be. Because there's definitely some differences, and there's even differences between the different kinds of venues in terms of peep shows as well. So, as I mentioned really briefly in the beginning of the show, there's peep shows that have, like, a main stage, you know, booths are set up around a main stage where there's like an entertainer in the middle. They'll have like a striptease or some kind of like sexually explicit type of movement. There's also a VIP and like private pleasure booths as well. So again, like booths set up in a similar fashion, but with space just for like one patron separated by glass, with the room to tip, which is really interesting. And sidebar here, I'm like, is that where lap dances are going to go nowadays with COVID? I mean, I don't even know if lap dances are going to continue, but that's another topic for another day. And there's, yeah, like, I mean, that's just like, well, like, I feel like peep shows would have been great.
Let's talk about it forever.
Right? I feel like peep shows could have thrived during the pandemic, since it's so like, those particular ones are isolated, right? So
yeah, I've heard so many people make that argument that, oh, peep shows are going to come back, or let's see if we can make them come back.
Yeah.
And I really wish that they could. I think if someone has enough money and enough heart, they could.
Right.
But one of the big things is, I think it costs a lot more to make a peep show stage and to make peep show booths than it does a strip club.
Right.
I think with the strip club, you make a stage and you put a pole on it, and then lap dancing booths can be almost anything. I've seen them be little couches.
Yeah.
You know,
chairs, little curtains.
Yeah, I've seen them be little closets. I don't know.
Yeah, closets. That's a good way of putting it.
when I was in Guam, you know, I had so much fun in Guam, but you know, the lap dancing was almost dangerous. They put you in these little closets and you close the door and it's like almost pitch black, and
oh my God.
I don't know. Yeah. But that's another day, right? So the basic layout at the Lusty Lady in Seattle and San Francisco, and then also when I was in Vegas, I danced at Showgirl Video.
Oh, cool.
They have a stage, and they have 12 booths around the stage.
Okay.
And so potentially at any given time, you're having like 12 customers watching you, maybe.
Right.
At the Lusty Lady in Seattle and San Francisco, they'd have anywhere from like 2 girls to like 5.
Oh, wow.
You know, 5 would be like on a Friday or Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess at the San Francisco Lusty Lady, they called that stacked, which means you have a full stage of 5 girls.
Right.
Towards the end, they got rid of that at the Seattle Lusty Lady because we just weren't getting enough customers. But when I first started in 2006, Friday and Saturday night, you'd have 5 girls. 10 o'clock in the morning, you have 2 girls.
Okay.
And the girls are on stage, and everybody gets a 10-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you have 2 girls on stage, there's 1 girl that's on a 10-minute break.
Right.
And then she comes back after 10 minutes, and the next girl goes on a 10-minute break. And then she comes back after 10 minutes, and then the next girl goes on a 10-minute break.
Right.
So that way, each girl's getting a 10-minute break, like, every hour or half hour.
Yeah. Like, how long were the shifts there? Like, if you're starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, for example, like, how like, what time do you end?
Yeah. Exactly. The dance shifts were really short.
Oh.
In Seattle Lusty Lady and San Francisco Lusty Lady. Like, I would dance 3 to 5 hours. And then you'd have a booth attached if you did the private pleasures booth.
Right.
Which I guess a private pleasures booth is like a peep show version of a lap dance, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Like
right.
Either way, you're still behind glass, you know?
Mm-hmm.
At the Seattle Lusty Lady and the San Francisco Lusty Lady, you're paid an hourly wage to dance on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And the customers can't give you tips. There's no tip slot or anything. And then when I went to some other surviving peep shows, if they had a stage, there was always tip slots because they don't pay the girl.
Oh.
Like Showgirl Video was ran almost more like a strip club.
Oh, I see.
Even though it was technically a peep show.
Yeah. But you'd be relying more so on tips in that fashion.
Yeah. So it's very competitive, just like a strip club is.
Right.
You know, there was tip slots in Showgirl Video. And Showgirl Video, there's only 1 girl at a stage on time. Every 10 minutes, 1 girl's on stage.
Oh.
And the other girls are taking a break.
Right.
So, yeah. So, like, I'd have a 3 to 5 hour shift at the Lusty Lady.
Mm-hmm.
And then booth attached. This was at the Seattle Lusty Lady. And the booth is like an hour long.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically just to do private shows.
Yeah.
I mean, the customer still can't touch you. It's behind glass.
Yeah.
But you're in a window exposed to the hallway. And so customers can walk by. And then a customer sees you. And he's like, oh, I want that girl. So then he goes into the booth. You close the window. Put some money in. And you start a private show.
Right.
So in the private pleasures booth, I guess the sky was the limit how much money you can make.
Yeah.
Depending on what you do or what you don't do. And also the customers were just so cheap, you know. It's like the McDonald's of the sex industry almost. So,
Okay.
like when I first started at the Lusty Lady in Seattle, you could get a private pleasure show for $5.
What? And how? Wait, that's crazy.
It was god awful.
Oh my god.
But like when they pay $20, basically that's a masturbation show.
Right. Okay. So I guess depending on how much money they would say put into the slot, that would give them a different type of show. So $5 is more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the most expensive show in the house was probably an anal show, and of course that's like, well, that was like I'd say maybe $60 or something, but of course the guys are cheap, so they pay like $20, $40, and they say, "Put your finger in your booty," and I'm like, "Guys, stop barking orders at me.
Yeah.
You haven't paid for that show."
Yeah.
And the girls get to make their own rules.
Okay.
There's no law saying you have to do an anal show in the private pleasures booth. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so if the customer just puts $60 in and doesn't tell you what he wants, and he's like, "Well, you do anal," and she's like, "I don't do anal shows. You didn't ask about that. You just $60 in, you know?
Yeah.
I'll do a masturbation show, you know, but like maybe they might ask for the money back, but they're not going to get it because they put it in the thing.
No, there's no refund. So, sorry, final sale.
Yeah, I'll sell the final and no like stupidity refund thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so the basic masturbation show started at $20.
Mm-hmm.
But again, for girls in Seattle, Lusty Lady, they wouldn't even masturbate. So, I mean, you are, how should I say it? You own your own show.
Yeah.
And let the guys tell you what you have to do or something, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. So, that's nice that you have the agency at least.
Yeah, it was cool. And, yeah, so, I mean, like, when I was at the Seattle Lusty Lady, I didn't even use a toy. I was, like I said, I was really new, and I guess I was nervous, and it wasn't until after the Lusty Lady closed, there's Deja Vu on First Avenue in Seattle, and they have an adult superstore at the bottom level, and they have a strip club at the top, and they used to have a peep show in the back. But when I was there, they were only using the private pleasures booth.
Okay.
Which a lot of other places will call it a fantasy booth.
Right.
Now, private pleasures was more just Lusty Lady.
Yeah, how it was branded there. Okay.
So, yeah, at Deja Vu, I started using a vibrator, and I don't know, I never even did it at the Seattle Lusty Lady. But so, yeah, you can do what you want in the booth. I mean, there's some really weird customers that ask for weird stuff.
Oh, yes.
You know,
they all exist.
I say pay more.
Yeah. Like, when you first started, and because you had no experience, and basically were starting from scratch, where did you learn the ropes? Like, were your other colleagues generous enough to help mentor you and kind of show you, okay, this is like, you know, this is expected, or this is what you can do, or to give you tips and advice and stuff? Like, how was the camaraderie? Because it sounds like you're still in touch with so many of your past colleagues, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, the camaraderie at the Lusty Lady is just something I'll never find in the sex industry ever again. And it just makes you want to cry, but what else can you do?
Oh,
you know?
No.
I mean, when I was at Showgirl Video, I got kind of close to one or two dancers. One of them I'm still really good friends with. Mm-hmm. She wishes to God she could go to the Lusty Lady, you know? We danced in Guam strip club. One of the girls there, I got really close to her. Mm-hmm. Me and her actually went and danced in South Dakota this last year.
Oh, cool.
She wishes to God she could go to the Lusty Lady, too. But, I mean, outside of the Lusty Lady, unfortunately, I feel like the sex industry is just this really, I don't know, scary lost place where you're just on your own and you're going to have to figure it out on your own. Mm. And no one's really going to help you because you're nothing but competition.
Interesting.
So why would someone help you?
Really interesting.
You know, and it's a really terrible, terrible situation. Like, I mean, one escort telling another escort that guy's a bad date, you know. I mean, like something really terrible like that. But for the most part, I find that there's just a lot of camaraderie and a lot of trying to help other dancers at the Lusty Lady.
That's good.
I never saw that anywhere else.
Wow. That's really surprising to me.
Other girls, yeah, they explained the peep show. I didn't do it for a long time because I was nervous, scared, and I was like, I don't think I can do a peep show. And people were like, you don't think you can masturbate? And I was like, I don't know, you know. But so I finally got in the peep show, and other girls told me, they were like, okay, well, if you're going to do a toy show, it's an absolute minimum of $20. You know, it's just basically the more they pay, the better the show gets. But don't ever feel like you have to do something that you don't want to do.
Right.
Because you don't.
Yeah.
You know, but like $20 is basic masturbation. You know, maybe a toy, you know, 30 or 40 or something. And the bigger the toy, the more you charge.
Right.
So, and then like they did say, if you do an anal show, it's at least like probably $60 or.
Yeah.
And when they just put $5 or $10 in, you just do a really quick strip show, but you don't touch it or anything.
Right.
You know, there was a little bit of a tiny bit of competition with the private pleasures. Nowhere near like a strip club. Okay. Because you're not hustling in front of other people. But the private pleasures booths could get a little bit competitive.
Oh, okay.
If, you know, like one girl said one time, well, I masturbate for $10. And then all the other girls were like, oh, now you're making us have to masturbate for $10. And so, but for the most part, I mean, the peep show can get competitive, but you can just say, I don't talk about my peep shows. You know what I mean? I don't,
keep it to yourself.
Do your own peep show.
Yeah, because every show is different. Every performer has their own thing. You know, like
that
not
was
everybody's
a
going to be
big
the same.
too. It was always a big thing on stage. They're like, you're not allowed to like criticize how somebody else dances. You know, unless they're like putting their fingers in their inner labia, you know, which is something they're not supposed to do. Right. Then unless they're breaking some rule, you can't criticize how some girl dances, you know. Right. And so that was a big thing too.
That's really interesting. I feel like, at least with my experience, and everyone's experience is going to be different, but I found like there's, like, with strip clubs, at least here in Vancouver, it's been really nice, honestly. Like, the camaraderie with the other dancers is something that I really genuinely miss about the clubs, and, like, it being closed and stuff. Like, you lose that a lot, but also within, like, the online sphere, I feel like I'm in a lot of sex worker groups, and I'm finding that they're generally pretty helpful, but sometimes I do see that cattiness, but like it's not as much as a non-sex worker would think, because I feel like civilians usually have this idea that we're all like really catty, but that's just hasn't been my personal experience.
You're in Vancouver, Canada, right?
Yeah. But we're nice
here
in Canada.
Canadians are nice, right?
I was just going to say Canadians are really nice. So
yeah, whenever I see Canadian geese, I'm always like, well, geese are mean, and Canadians are nice and polite. So are you Canadian or are you geese?
I like that.
No, I don't. I mean, okay. I am very negative. I'm 39, and I kind of been in the sex industry a long time. Totally. And I hate the customers. Yes. And okay, and honestly, there is something wrong with me. I attract bullies. People think, oh, I can bully her. You know, and so I don't know. I guess the most bullyish stripper is definitely going to come up and try to bully me.
Oh, no.
I've had that experience at Showgirl Video a lot. Yeah. I had it in Guam a little bit. Honestly, in Guam, there was a lot of camaraderie. Yeah. And it was a strip club. But Guam, they had to run it like a real business. They had to, like, you were paid $70 a day. Right. And they gave you a check every 6 days. That's how it's supposed to be here in California now. Right, but California's like trying to figure out ways around it, and they're like, no, we're going to keep your first $80. that you make lap dancing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Like in Guam, you paid $70 a day. That's 7 hours of dancing. And then also you're making money from lap dancing and tips and champagne rooms and
all that
and selling drinks. And so, yeah, maybe it was a little bit better in Guam because there was at least a paycheck.
Yeah, at least you have that.
Some way to try to screw you out of that paycheck, like they're trying to do in California now.
Right, yeah. And that's definitely something we spoke about briefly on one of the episodes. If you listen back to season 2 with Jordan Kensley, we definitely talk about that. So if you're interested in hearing more about the legislation and the laws surrounding strip clubs in terms of like employee status versus independent contracting, it's a really interesting chat. So be sure to listen back to that if anyone is curious. But I also wanted to ask you about, was there like, you know, how your patrons, they would give you like $5, $10, $20, whatever denomination. Does that coincide with a time as well? Like $5 is going to be like 10 minutes or something, or like,
yeah.
How does that work?
Good question.
Yeah.
In the peep show, in the fantasy booth or private pleasures booth, whatever.
Right.
Like, and this is a long time ago, so inflation, it would be more now. When I very first started in 2006 at the Lusty Lady, $5 got you 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
And that's a pretty low number even for peep shows. Like immediately afterwards, I went to the peep show in Deja Vu that used to be there.
Okay.
And I think you paid $20 for 8 minutes or something. And so, yeah, like if you pay $10, I think you get 5 minutes at the Lusty Lady. This was back in 2006.
Right.
Then they raised it to $10. The girls complained enough, like, we are the cheapest girls in town.
Yeah.
What does the customer expect for $5? And so, yeah, I think at Showgirl Video, it was like 10 minutes or something. You paid $20, you get 10 minutes.
Interesting.
And yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. So I was like, how does this work? Which is really interesting because I feel like, and we're gonna talk about this really soon too, but it just sounds a lot like camming, or like early stages of camming before camming existed, right? So
when
like
the Lusty Lady was closing, the Seattle one of the other girls was really into camming. And she says it's basically just like the private pleasures booth, except it's a laptop instead of an actual physical screen.
Yeah.
And the guy's not physically on the other side of the screen. You know what I mean? But basically, it's all kind of the same thing, sort of.
Yeah, like a really...
Yeah, so other girls camming have told me that it's very, very, very similar.
Yeah, like a really...
private pleasure booth.
Yes.
But dancing on stage, I don't know if you could ever replicate that.
No.
I want to open up my own peep show where I'm like, I'll bring it into the 21st century.
Yeah.
And I'll make like, you know, the girls dancing on stage. Maybe I'll have a webcam on stage. You can pay like $1, you know, for however a minute. I don't know, $1 a minute, and you can watch like girls dancing naked on stage. Maybe
do it
one day.
Live stream.
On peep show.
Hey, you're gonna have to keep us posted on that.
No, it's my lifelong dream. I don't know if I ever can do it.
Well, thank you so much for bringing up like the whole camming aspect as well. Oh, sorry.
They just put it down the machine. Window goes up.
Yeah.
You see dancing naked women, and I think it stays up for like 30 seconds or. With the Seattle Lusty Lady, actual quarters.
Oh wow.
So like a quarter bought you like 20 seconds or 30 seconds.
Oh wow.
So the more quarters you keep feeding in there. And then by the time I got to the San Francisco Lusty Lady, they're like, no, we're not going to mess with quarters. You put $1 in there.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's like, come on.
You get like 1 minute or something, you know?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, really interesting that you brought up like the whole quarters aspect, because obviously this is like a really old school thing and I forgot to even mention the history of peep shows in the beginning of the show. So I'm just going to pepper it in here right now. So peep shows, like, I mean, as you already we've already kind of explained what it is, but it's a live sex show or a pornographic film, because there's also those types of peep show booths as well, which just air like pornographic films 24/7. But basically they're viewed through like a viewing slot, so it's very like voyeuristic in some ways. And this was really popularized back in the 1970s, and this was like way before a lot of my listeners were born, before I was born. And this is before like home video and like VHS was a thing, and like the way to view pornography. So now, as you can see, it's shifting, and has shifted. Actually, I wouldn't say it's shifting anymore, because again, a lot of these places are lost now. They're gone, and they've lost it to technology. And we were just talking about camming and how there's so many similarities there between camming and peep shows, even down to the token aspect of camming. I feel like that's like quarters, you know, back in the day, right?
I never thought of that, but that's a really great point.
Yeah, like it's very similar.
So speaking of the history, like First Avenue on Seattle used to have a lot of peep shows. It used to be like a really seedy part of town. Mm-hmm. Now they've made it kind of ritzy glitzy or something. I don't know. But they're like where Deja Vu. They had a peep show. It's because it used to be Champs, which was another peep show. There's just like a bunch of peep shows, and peep show like with the dancers, and just like peep show porn theaters. Like what you're saying, that's how you could do it. And they didn't have home video. Right. And Times Square was like famous for all these peep shows.
Yes, back in the day.
Before Giuliani decided to clean it up, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
so sad.
It's so sad.
Sad.
It's a completely different and digitized landscape nowadays.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Like, have you ever...
That's why I'm hoping, if I ever open up my own peep show, like I said, I would like to try to bring it into the 21st century, where it's like, okay, there's a live dance where there's like 12 windows or 10 windows, whatever. And then maybe, you know, one of the windows could be webcam or something, where you're putting money from your laptop, I guess, and then you get to watch the live show from your house, but it's a camera on the live stage show, and then maybe have a private pleasures booth, and then have a cam booth, just for like, I hope one day, if all my dreams come true.
That would be so cool. Like, and again, like what we said earlier in the show too. I mean, like, you can live stream it. A lot of places are live streaming things nowadays. In the midst of the pandemic, I mean, things are slowly opening up now. But like, again, like as I mentioned early in the show, it would have been cool to see these come back, because they'd already be like each booth would be like isolated already. You know, you're not having any type of contact. They have the plexiglass there, so it's like, this is already safe.
You would figure, but it seemed like okay, I was working at Venus Fair, and they closed right before the pandemic.
Right.
And then, you know, okay, so my peep show career kind of, at first I was at the Lusty Lady in Seattle for 4 years, and then I went to Deja Vu, the peep show that was in the back, for like 2 years, and then a little bit of time I was at Fantasy Unlimited, which is another peep show that just now closed. But it was like, they closed because of the pandemic.
Oh.
But why wouldn't you just stay open? Because this is perfect.
Yeah, it just
you can
goes
be like,
hand
hey,
in hand.
you're not touching that guy.
Yeah.
You're not giving him a lap dance. You're separated behind glass.
Yeah, you're not breathing the same air. Like, that's wild.
No, I know.
Oh my god.
But I think Fantasy Unlimited was on its last leg for a long time, and they don't like Fantasy Unlimited and Deja Vu. A lot of these peep shows, they knew they were dying out, so they're like, oh well, let's just let it die out and get what little bit of money we can on the way out. But they didn't want to like revamp it, or like me, like everything I was saying, you know, like when I was at Showgirl Video closed in 2018, I think.
Okay.
I danced there in 2017. I mean, you've already got the thing there. Why don't you just use one of those booths for webcam? But no one wanted to invest time or money into doing it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was stupid.
I wonder if it's just because of like, well, one, operating cost and overhead is so expensive, and like maybe it's just like not worth it economically. I know, like, I read that the Lusty Lady closed due to the age of the internet, basically, with the rise in like free porn and camming, as we said earlier as well too. Like, is that something you believe in?
Are you talking about the Lusty Lady in Seattle or San Francisco?
Seattle, I think, is the one that they read, and then San Francisco closed for a different reason.
That's what I read too.
Yeah.
The age was camming, internet, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But there's something. Okay, my best friend, I know her from the Lusty Lady. She danced there 10 years until it closed. I danced for 4 years until it closed.
Yeah.
And we talked about this subject all the time.
Yeah.
That was our job.
Yeah.
But like, and her husband worked there too.
Oh, no way.
He wasn't like a lusty lad or anything. He was like working up front, the receptionist, whatever. But like, we've all said there's something else going on. Because supposedly they kicked us out of the Lusty Lady in Seattle because we couldn't pay the rent.
Oh.
Okay, that same building has sat there empty ever since.
What?
Yeah. So they kick us out. Okay, if that's the case, why don't you just lower the rent, and then you're making at least something out of us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just kicking us out, and now the building's sitting there empty, and no one's doing anything. You know, they're not making no money off that building.
Right. That's really interesting. That's why I was like curious to be like, do you believe in this statement? Do you think this was a front? Or like, I mean, I agree with some parts of it. Yeah, like a lot of people, and that's not another reason why strip clubs are dying out too. Like strip clubs are disappearing.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying. Like when I talked with Deborah, that was the manager at the Seattle Lusty Lady. When I very first started, the walls had all these, you know, pictures of these beautiful porn stars from back in the 80s. Big names, big names. I was like, who are these people, you know? And they're like, oh, well, she came and worked at this peep show for blah, blah, blah. You know, because back then people would come to a peep show. If you say, you know, I can't remember any of the names now.
Oh, that's okay.
If you say Marilyn Chambers is going to be at this Seattle Lusty Lady, then all the customers would come. But nowadays, I guess it just doesn't have that pull that it used to.
Right. I mean, well, times have changed as well, as I mentioned earlier with the history too. Like, this is something that was originated in the 1970s, and it's something that's, you know, maybe it's phasing out. But then, and as I was trying to say earlier too, this is also another reason why strip clubs are starting to disappear as well. Like, there has been so many strip clubs that have shut down in the past few years, and with no plans of reopening. But like, I just wonder if live performanceship in general is just dying out because people are. It's so sad. It's so sad. I don't want to think about it.
Oh, it'll make you cry if you think about it. What stage are we gonna dance on?
Yeah, I know. It's really sad. And like, I mean, another reason that I saw too, and I just think I don't really fully believe in this because I haven't seen any statistics, but like when I was researching on the topic too, like they were removing a lot of peep show venues because they found there was increased crime in the surrounding neighborhoods. I mean, generally these venues are usually found in like seedy areas. You know, but can they blame it fully on peep shows? I don't think they could fully blame it because, you know what, like, it just happens to be, like, maybe the clientele or the people that are in those neighborhoods, they just, maybe it's socioeconomic.
Well, I think that really always pissed me off about that is, and I felt like they did it to peep shows first, now I guess they're doing it to strip clubs, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, they have all these laws on where you can open a peep show. And, like, they want to, I don't know how I should say it, outlaw you until you can't do it. Like, you try to open a peep show, and they're just going to make all these laws on you until it's ridiculous. You can, like, for example, the last peep show that I worked at, Venus Fair here in LA, they made a law that you can't lock the door.
What?
Or they also made a law when you go in, there has to be a window in the door. So that way you can watch the guy in the booth.
Right.
Because technically he's not supposed to be jacking off, I guess. Technically. They would always say they're not supposed to do a toy show in the private pleasures booth or the fantasy booth.
Right.
So they kept making all these rules, and like they made the doors. They said you can only have half doors in peep shows. They did that to the Lusty Lady, and so they're making all these laws to make it to where it's like impossible to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think the big problem with the peep shows is they would only give them one little place that they could build a peep show, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So you, I guess, punish them. Oh my God, your neighborhood's so terrible. And it's like, that's the only place you would allow me to open a peep show.
Right.
So you can't blame me that I opened this peep show in a bad area. That was the only area you'd let me open it.
Yeah, that's the only place you can operate. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it leaves you with little to no options, right? Or just don't open one. And I think that's they're just pushing, possible entrepreneurs in that direction, right? It's like just the removal of sex work in general, which is another big topic, but another topic there.
My friend Heather that I told you about, her husband used to work there up front, and she was a dancer there for 10 years. They always said, the one place that a peep show today would work would be Las Vegas on the Strip. And they always say, because so much foot traffic.
There is a lot of foot traffic. Right.
But Las Vegas on the Strip won't let you open a peep show. You're not supposed to have a strip club on the Strip in Vegas. Like, I guess they made this, like, cowgirl review thing where they're trying to, like, skirt all these laws or something. And then they had that Thunder from Down Under. I think that was supposed to be a male strip show. But they're having to do all these ways to try to skirt all these laws because they want to make the strip clean, so to speak. And it's got to be family friendly. And so, my best friend and her husband said that would be the one place I would open a peep show there. Vegas Strip isn't going to let you do that.
That's unfortunate, right?
Yeah, unfortunate, yeah.
I mean, it's sad. I mean, but it's also really nice that you could reminisce on the great memories that you've had and for you to come on the show and speak about your experience in this, I think that's really beautiful as well. So
no, I'm pretty grateful for my time at the Lady.
Yeah, and
also even the other peep shows, like my time wasn't super great at Fantasy Unlimited, but I keep seeking peep shows out.
Yeah,
like whatever last one, I will go there.
Totally.
However far I have to travel, but like Showgirl Video could be a little bit more like a strip club. But yet I still met some pretty amazing people there. I had an amazing time there still.
Yeah. I'm so happy I found you. We were able to connect on this. Because again, it's like something I find so fascinating, and like I've just never had the opportunity to do an episode on this because I couldn't find anyone. I was like, who'd be open to speaking about this? And I found you. So
Erica Langley could come on and talk to you about her book.
Yeah.
She did the book about the Lusty Lady in Seattle.
Yes, that's right.
A photographer, journalist, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and then there's another book out as well by Elizabeth Eves called Bear on Women Dancing, Sex and Power. There's also a documentary that you sent me the link to for the Lusty Lady as well, and in terms of like how it became unionized and how it became a workers collective, which is really cool, but we don't have enough time to talk about, and that I would love to interview the person who did that too. So it's a cool topic.
So I spent 4 years at the Seattle Lusty Lady. I only spent like 3 months at the San Francisco Lusty Lady up until it closed.
Yeah.
So the San Francisco one was the unionized one.
Right.
They made that documentary about San Francisco Lusty Lady.
Yes.
So if you watch the documentary, it's specifically the San Francisco Lusty Lady and how they got unionized and stuff.
Right.
But the book is specifically the Seattle Lusty Lady.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be sure to like plug those links and the books and also the name of the documentary, which escapes me right now, but I'll plug it in the show notes so if people are interested, they can.
I think it's Live Nude Girls Unite, right?
Yes, that's what it was. I was like, something Unite. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah, I think it's Live Nude Girls Unite.
Yeah, I mean, after your work at the Lusty Lady and all of these peep show venues. I'm curious to see, like, what are you doing now? Are you still in sex work? I know that you do have an OnlyFans, but, and I also, we chatted briefly before recording, but you also mentioned that you do stand-up comedy as well, which I thought is really cool.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll play some stand-up.
Yeah.
Well, basically, my stand-up, I mean, I barely do it. I can't even call myself a stand-up comedian anymore. But I did it for a few years.
Oh, cool.
And basically, it was all about stripping. It was like, hello, my name is Sunshine. I used to be a stripper. And then I would kind of tell all these jokes. For a long time, I would just talk about all the stereotypes people had about strippers.
Yes.
And either, like, if I can prove it right in a funny way, okay. Or if I can disprove it in a funny way, okay.
Totally.
And
I like that.
And then as I got older, I just got more angry. And so then I just started talking about the customers I hated. But I was still capable of making it funny. So that was good.
That's good content. It's good content for sure.
Yeah. When I was in Guam, I got to open for Josh Blue.
Okay.
And that he won Last Comic Standing.
Oh, cool. Fun.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I did a 10-minute set about being a stripper. And I was dancing at G-Spot at the time in Guam.
Yeah. Are you still doing anything currently right now with sex work, or where are you at right now?
Really nothing.
That's okay.
Really nothing. I mean, I'm on sexy jobs trying to find jobs, but most of them are scams.
Yeah, lots of them are scams. Gotta be careful.
My last job was I worked for Dr. Susan Block. I was her on-camera assistant.
Oh, cool.
And then, so she's a sex therapist, and she has a show every Saturday night.
Yes.
And so, like, I was working on her show, and so then I was taking sex calls too during the week. You can, like, take calls from customers that come. It's basically I guess you call it sex calls.
Cool.
So I was doing that. Yeah, I know. I'm always so fascinated by this really antiquated stuff in the sex industry. I'm like, let me find that. What is that? You know, like,
it's fascinating.
Like I don't know if the corona apocalypse killed it, but like, there's 3 taxi dancing places in LA, and I'm like, that's like sex work from the 1930s or something, you know?
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to get a job there, but I never really, I don't know. I've just been coasting on unemployment for my catering, basically.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I guess.
I have a mini-vids and I have an OnlyFans. Yes. I barely have anything on OnlyFans. I really should, like, start doing something there.
Yeah, I'll be sure to plug, like, all of your links at the end of the show. There's just a couple of questions that came in for Q&A, so
okay, awesome.
Let's pivot over there. So, and I guess this is a question that's similar to, I guess, how we met on that sex worker group, but are there any peep shows left in America that you know of?
Question. I keep looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Last I heard, there was one in San Diego.
Oh.
What's that place called? La Jolla?
La
Jolla?
Oh, La Jolla?
La Jolla.
La Jolla.
Yeah. It was called La Jolla Cinema.
Okay.
And it had survived right up until Corona Apocalypse, but I think they might have died now.
Darn.
And everybody keeps telling me there's one in Minneapolis.
Really?
And I keep trying so hard to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't have an online presence.
Right.
So that's what makes me say, you guys just want to die because you refuse to have an online presence. So there's one in Minneapolis. They told me there's one in Maine, but I just heard that once. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Right.
When I lived in Japan, there's one in Tokyo.
Okay, yeah.
It's called TS, which I don't know. It's not transsexual, so I don't know why it's called TS, but it's like TS.
I don't know.
Show, TS Cinema, I guess. And I mean, I heard there's one or two in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, would the red light district count as peep shows then? Like in Amsterdam, or would that be a different category?
I think there's one in Amsterdam, one or two. See, this is something that really frustrates me. I get irritated about it, but I guess I shouldn't. But like, people, they don't know what a peep show is, and so they just call anything a peep show.
Right.
They're like, oh, webcam, that's a peep show.
No.
It's like, no, that's a webcam.
No, that's, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, we did talk about how it's so similar, but
they're different.
It's not.
They're different. Like, would the red light district in Amsterdam be a peep show? Because it's
I think it's the red light district where you can go, you know, get escorts, or it's a place with a bunch of sex work businesses, I think.
Yeah.
And I think there's one peep show hanging on in Amsterdam, maybe.
Yeah, like, well, how I would define it, like, for me, again, this voyeuristic type of entertainment, like, they do have areas and, like, very famous sections of the red light district where, you know, women are dancing in the windows, and you can walk and pay a fee, a few euros, and then they can give you that private show, similar to what we had here in the private booths, the private pleasure booths. So I feel like it's similar, but whoever's listening, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe if you know someone from Amsterdam that you want to connect me with, so I could get in the show to, like, set the record straight, I'd love that.
I think there's one or two peep shows left in Times Square. I mean, Giuliani really cleaned it out.
Yeah.
With his, I'm going to sanitize Times Square.
Yes.
But I think there's, like, maybe one left.
Okay. So if anyone's interested, because I
I'm
know
going to go to New York, so I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, please, like, let me know.
New York, June 21st, and I'm going to go meet two Lusties, and I'm going to say, hey, let's go to the peep show in Times Square.
Yeah, where are they at? So we'll have to report back.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question here is, have you been to any peep shows in other parts of the world? And it sounds like you have, because you went to the one in Japan, so...
I didn't get to go to that one.
Oh, you didn't? Darn.
I was living at the bottom of Japan. I was living in Kyushu.
Okay.
I mean, everything's just different in Japan.
Yeah.
A lot of times they won't let you into a Japanese business unless you're Japanese.
Yeah, that is also true.
So if you're a gaijin, which means a foreigner, and you're like, hey, I want to see the peep show, they're like, no. You know? I was dating this one Japanese guy at the time. I was like, let's take a trip to Tokyo and see if we can go. I'm with you, so you can show me, right?
Right.
But
darn.
No, I didn't get. I just kept reading about it.
Okay, well, good to know. I mean, the world's opening up again, so maybe we'll have to make a visit out to Tokyo. Lots of great. Oh man, there's like so many great sex things over there too in Tokyo. So, yeah. Okay, well, this is the time of the show where I ask you, where can we find you?
Okay, so I guess I should recommend my OnlyFans, which is I mean, I have a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
But on OnlyFans, I'm at Eileen Warnos X. Mm-hmm. It's spelled differently than the real Eileen Warnos. It's spelled at EILEENWOURNOUSX.
Yeah.
And then on ManyVids, I got a lot more stuff on ManyVids. I'm Eileen Warnos there too. EILEENWOURNOUS.
Perfect.
And then I don't know. Should I give my IG? What should I give?
Yeah, up to you.
It?
Whatever you feel comfortable, like your IG, your Twitter, if you have a website, anything that you would like to market. I'm happy to post out here and post in the show notes. So
I do have Eileen Warnos on Twitter, but I kind of I stay away from Twitter because I feel like it's just there for political arguments. But you know, on IG, I'm Sunshine McWane.
Yes.
MCWANE. And that's the real me.
That's the real you. And it was so nice to chat with you, Sunshine, on this episode. Thank you so much for just letting us know, you know, and sharing your experience of peep shows and what that was like. And, you know,
thank you. I wish I could tell you more.
I know. I really
Maybe
think
I'll see if Erica Langley can come on and she could talk about the
book. Yeah, that would be awesome. I would have to read it first, so I have to do my research.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that would be great, and I love how passionate you are about peep shows. Even now, you're like, I'm going to go to New York, and we're going to just try to find the other peep shows out there. I think that's really, really cool. So again, keep me posted on what you find. For sure. And it is new episodes every single Sunday. It's Strip by Sia on Instagram. It's also Strip by Sia on Twitter as well, or my personal on Instagram. It's Sia Steph if you want to get at me. And we'll catch everyone in for a new episode next Sunday. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You're listening to Strip by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia, artwork by Maria Bellandarama, music by Ted D, and photography by Ian Davern.